Hi. It was going to be faster this way than adding my OC right now. He'll be later, though. Hi. So I went into this anime purely off of the image on the front of the dog thing. So I was like, oh, I've seen that somewhere in a game. Like, I know it was a DLC. So I expected, like, a good old-fashioned murder mystery that maybe involves demons and kids chasing a mascot wearing disguised serial killer. I was half right, sort of. But then Freud came in, and he was like, nah, I'll make it weird for you. And now I can't see fursuiting the same way again. This is Gleipnir. Gleipnir? I'm going to go Gleipnir. Which is apparently the third chain used to chain up Fenrir the wolf in Norse mythology. I get it now. Oh my god. This show was an interesting ride, to say the least, but I think it lacks a bit in execution. I know I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, so let me talk about the show properly, and I'll do it in parts so it's easier for my brain to write on before I inevitably forget what I was saying. An alien ship crashes on Earth, like you do, and only one of said aliens is active post-crash. The rest of the crew has compressed themselves into Chuck E. Cheese knockoff tokens to conserve energy and make space travel faster. Just go with it. These coins spill out from the crash ship and fall all around Japan. To get these coins back, and to rescue the alien's friends, the alien sets up a vending machine that gives you magical Red Bull in exchange for a coin. The drink turns people into a form that represents their desires at time of drinking, or rather the wish they had in mind when drinking the drink. Collectively, these monsters wreak havoc and are seeking more coins to gain more power. Supposedly, if you collect 100 coins and give them to the alien, you get like Thanos level power. Your classic be careful what you wish for kind of thing. Now in brand name form. One of the main characters, Shuichi, gets tricked into drinking one of these drinks by his old crush and the sister of one of the other main characters, and now he can transform into a sentient mascot dog costume with hulkish strength and enhanced sense of smell. He ends up rescuing the other main character, Claire, a rather psychotic person who is after her sister, Shuichi's crush and also a very powerful monster, for killing Claire's parents. She and Shuichi work together reluctantly to also gather more coins and try to stop this whole situation from getting worse. And how did they work together, you ask? Well, naturally, you have the girl wear the sentient mascot costume, and... yeah, right? Shuichi is a reserved kid who was raised in a very sheltered life, so he doesn't have much social grace, at least outside of the normal school chatting and being friendly, of course, but he lacks a certain amount of bravery and confidence. He is told by some that he had friends but was more outgoing, but his memories seem to be blank post-magical drink that he had. In the show, he tries to stay out of trouble and out of fights most of the time. He and Claire are basically opposite ends of the spectrum as to where Shuichi is a very sheltered and more insecure kind of person. The other main character, Claire, is very not stable. The lady has some of the most development throughout the show, though, and I find her most fascinating. She doesn't lose the drive of I will do what I want to get what I need, but she does gain at least an appreciation for Shuichi and perhaps some other people as a whole, as more than just objects for her to use towards her goals. She is primarily defined as a character as ruthless and very cunning, and is willing to put anyone beneath her feet if it means she has to get forward towards her next destination. Shuichi doesn't want to fight monsters because he's too scared, but Claire will gladly use him in order to get the job done, and it sort of leads to a learning from both of them as to what really is confidence and strength, and if being a bit too driven to get what you need to get done is not just bad, but also harmful to yourself in the long run. And it's this duo that presents an interesting theme for this show. I mean, aside from... I'll get to it! Claire's sister is a powerful shadow monster that, along with her dog friends, are way too reminiscent of Kingdom Hearts, both in edginess and appearance. Didn't they come up in the last video too? And of course there are a lot of other monsters involved in all this, not all of them ugly. The rules for how one transforms doesn't seem to have any system aside from the subconscious wants thing. Some people are just humans with body markings, and some don't even have markings, aside from the X, which is on all monsters either in their eye or on them somewhere. Cause some, like one of these ladies, can just make a choker out of her hair that cuts your head off if you tell a secret she doesn't want you to tell. As far as the monsters go, this seems more like Dungeons & Dragons than an anime, but okay. Claire is at a disadvantage, of course, in all this, since she lacks any powers and has to... I'll get to it! You can also tell when they put in extras in a shot to make a group seem bigger, but I appreciate this tactic versus like, these are the background people and this is the foreground people. There you go. Actually, speaking of... This show's art is alright. It's nothing too out of the ordinary and functions for the sake of the story, but major kudos to the use of occasional 3D or what looks like cel shading for moments of the mascot suit or occasional fighting. The energy of the characters, like when they use their attacks, is distinct and helps to mark off certain scenes as fighting or help guide your eye to what the fight actually is, especially when powerful monsters and Claire's sister are in certain scenes. The shadows and the way they manipulate the shadow hands or the weird ether effect. It's kind of cool, I like it. The way the creators draw nature scenes are also nice, and they make sure to highlight the characters in the foreground. It doesn't do quite as good on the job as Blood, but does a decent job on Viscera, including...
Alright, we'll talk about...
Okay, the biggest themes of the show, at least to me, are twofold. In regards to the main characters, it's primarily about two becoming one, in more than one sense of the word. Primarily, it's about Claire having no sense of restraint and looking for herself initially, compensating for Shuichi's hesitation to hurt or kill others, even though he knows it will be necessary to fight for survival. And each time Claire wears Shuichi, always shown as intimate and links their feelings and thoughts, sort of. It skirts the line between necessity and lack of agency, and this is something that spurs the character development of both Claire and Shuichi. Through several mishaps and being outclassed, one with Claire's sister literally ripping the head of Shuichi in mascot form off, Claire realizes that Shuichi as a suit is more than just a weapon. He's a person just as much as a means to an end. They learn to understand each other and their reasons for this journey. It's kind of nice to see this kind of occasional break in madness from typical cool character types. The other side of this kind of theme of 2 in 1 is how different aspects of the human characters, like the powerful monster and the regular self, make up for their whole, per se, or like the weaknesses that they perceive. When you become a monster, do you gain something you really wish, or do you only make yourself worse? Are you really completing yourself? That's the kind of thing the show kind of skirts. Hi, future me here. I rambled a bit too much in this section. Basically, finding your other half, both literally and metaphorically. Even in monster forms, they have actually good conversations with other people. There's a guy they meet in the forest, for example, that has super enhanced armor and strength and can cut things with his hands, but Claire and Shuichi outsmart him, and instead of just fighting to the death, he realizes that there's more to them than just this kind of weird symbiotic relationship, and he admits defeat and actually wants to help them. So even in monster form, there are certain people who are just as reasonable as they were their human selves, if not more so. And that's basically the show's main theme, is what am I lacking, what completes me, and what makes a monster or a human, and which one's worse. And of course, what is it worth to get the power from this weird alien thing, who, by the way, can change bodies according to parts that he takes from people? Like, he eats a hair from Claire and then he turns into her. It's a weird scene. The whole show has these moments of just delicious uncomfortability, and I can't get over it. I love it. That being said, my biggest critique with this show is actually in the way the plot is written. They spend most of it setting up Claire and Shuichi and how they met, what they're going to do, how they kind of get along and learn by each other, and then eventually seeing the sister and then going from there onto their main journey. Except when they get about halfway into the next, I guess the forest section, I could call it, it seems a bit slow. They meet a group of people who are also hunting coins, not nearly as strong as the other ones they faced before, but they're friends. They have a team that they can work with. But this part really slows down, and I think it delves too much into really nuances you don't need. They delve into backstories of characters that aren't really expanded on, and they really try to make Claire seem more vulnerable to an extent, or Shuichi, even having Shuichi have another girl inside him, and then it has a whole jealousy plot. But I think it's just a bit too tangential, where Shuichi and another girl, the doggy girl, they almost die, actually they do die, and then they bond into a shadow creature, and essentially do become one. Which raises the question, if these two can become one, they don't know each other, why can't Claire and Shuichi, who are much more familiar and fight together better, do so as well? Some questions that Claire can't answer and that bugs her, but of course she doesn't let it show. That's only one really notable moment in the whole thing. It gets into a giant blur of let's go here, here's a reaction for a fight scene, now go over here and do it again. It's kind of not stalling, but I think it could use a little more focus on either character depth when it comes to maybe their personal psyche or what they want to do, or at least have the plot maybe expand a bit more or get a little more fast-paced. Ultimately, it boils down to the first half of the show is about the characters and their setup and what makes them do what they want to do. and then the other half is just we're in a forest trying to survive. Oh, here's a big guy. Now, mind you, like I said in the beginning, or I hope I did at the beginning, the next episode's coming out June 15th. I'm recording it on June 15th. I wanted to review this because I think this show is worthwhile. It definitely is a good show. I hope that you guys do watch it because I think it's a good twist on the idea of monsters versus humanity thing and how they can be one. But I think it just needs a bit more oomph. But I think keeping the focus of the first half of the show, keeping the dark themes and really emphasizing moments of character, really introspection and growth, I think would have been better. But while the story pacing can get slow in the middle half, I will say the episodes keep a very good consistent watch time flow. Like, you don't feel like 20 minutes have passed when you watch it, but it has. But the whole arc of the story could definitely use some quickening. Some of the character interactions too seem a bit inconsequential. I don't know how to say it that way, but some of the character dialogue scenes just don't need to happen. Some of the things they do just seem to go nowhere, and I really wish they expand on some of it. I mean, the fan service scenes are maybe a given. I'm sorry, I'm still really bad at analyzing shows, so I'll go ahead and just say I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It is a little higher than that right now on the Mal score, and I think it's a bit fair, but ultimately, it's okay show. It's got a cool idea. The plot's good. I just think it needs a bit more oomph. But other than that, it's definitely worth your watch, and I would recommend finding a streaming site that has it right now. But go take a look. Definitely worth a shot if you're into sentient mascot dog costumes and people who wear them. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me on that, and I will see you all later. Bye! Hello and welcome back to Lamps Lights, illuminating your life one lamp at a time. The links to these should be in the description if you want to snag one for yourself. They're from Amazon. So let's start with one of my favorites. And I know what you're thinking. Hey, what gives? How's this dinky little thing supposed to help me see? It's tiny, it's nothing. And to that, I say it's not always the amount of light that a lamp emits, but the emotion that it invokes. These glowing mushrooms and other greenery, although synthetic, provide a small sense of magic and comfort, perfect for children of any age, but only if you have a spare outlet. The plastic is a bit fragile on the plant, so be gentle when plugging it in. 7 out of 10. A cute, reliable, little light. Next for those crafters in your life, a wooden lamp with bunny motifs in an Eastern style. It's lightweight and good for desks or room decoration, or video aesthetic. The biggest downside is that it's battery powered, not plug-in. It uses those little watch batteries, the LR41 or the 392, depending on what number you go by. Kinda wish it was plug-in, but this could also make a good cosplay accessory. A 6 out of 10. Like the last one, it's not the amount of light, but the feeling it evokes. I'm actually probably gonna buy one just for a costume later. Lastly, let's go for a more modern look, a sleek design that fits with the futuristic or post-futuristic games, and is not taking up too much desk space, or nightstand space for that matter. It's not the best for reading with it being on the soft white Kelvin scale, but it's great for general room light and accenting. Kinda wish I had color changing options, but still, 8 out of 10. If you wanted to get one of these for yourself, links should be in the description below. Not sponsored. Thank you for watching and have a bright day.